Over the past few weeks, I've heard a lot of criticisms of the Tennessee Titans re-signing of Ryan Tannehill. He's coming off what is undisputedly his best season as an NFL quarterback, leading what was once a 2-4 team seemingly doomed to the basement of the AFC all the way to the conference championship game, where they fell just short of a Super Bowl appearance. Today I'm going to be responding to a video from a man that I've been a fan of for almost a decade. SchlegdaddyTV is a channel run by the Schlegdaddy, who's been a content creator on YouTube for almost a decade, mainly well known for his wrestling review channel, OTRSCentral. SchlegdaddyTV is his mainly football-oriented channel, though he does talk about pretty much whatever he wants to on this channel. Make sure you go subscribe to both of his channels and show him some love. Anyways, in this video, I'm responding to a video he made a few weeks ago, speaking about the team's re-signing of the veteran quarterback. The link should pop up in the top right corner right about now, but I'll also leave it in the description and in the comments. Now, I did intend to make this video about a week or so ago, but due to certain circumstances, I was unable to. But anyways, here goes. In his video, Schlegdaddy starts off by acknowledging the importance of the quarterback position, calling it, quote, the most important position in North American pro sports, a sentiment I agree wholeheartedly with. High-caliber quarterbacks do not come around very often, and when you feel like you have that guy, you absolutely have to keep him around, sometimes at a high price. He then stated that just because the market value demands that you pay a mediocre quarterback a certain amount, doesn't mean that you should. This is another point that I agree with, to a certain extent at least. If you're in a position where you have no choice but to sign that quarterback, then you probably should sign him. So I do mainly agree with Schlegdaddy's points. Now here's where the agreements stop. He then says that Tannehill's deal was, quote, a somewhat necessary but unnecessary overreaction, an overestimation, and an overabundance of expectation and hope, end quote. Now, while Marcus Mariota did have a flash back in 2016 before he broke his leg, overall, since Steve McNair's 2014 co-MVP campaign, the Titans hadn't seen a quarterback perform to the level that Tannehill did last season. Though it was only a 10-game sample size, Tannehill put up ridiculous passing numbers and deserves a lot of the credit for turning the team around last season. With the inconsistency and at times ineptitude that this fanbase has had to witness at the quarterback position, since drafting Vince Young and then trading McNair in 2006, you can't really blame this organization for being excited about the season Tannehill had. Schlegdaddy also says that Tannehill's deal, worth $118 million over 4 years, essentially takes him out of the quarterback market for the next 2 seasons, and that most teams that win in the NFL win with quarterbacks that they draft and develop themselves, which is true to an extent. But there are plenty of exceptions to this rule, such as Drew Brees, Brad Johnson, Kurt Warner, Trent Dilfer, and even Brett Favre. With that being said, there are a few things that I feel like I should point out. The Titans are picking 29th overall in the first round of the NFL draft. They really don't have the draft capital to trade up for one of those more marquee quarterbacks in this draft, like Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, or even possibly Jordan Love. In this regard, it was more so the team's success this season that took him out of the QB market than it was re-signing Tannehill. When a quarterback performs as well as Tannehill did this season, you gotta pay him. I wouldn't even say that it's far-fetched that the Titans draft a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round, as they currently don't have a dependable backup at the position. Aside from Tannehill, Logan Woodside is the only other quarterback currently under contract with the team, and he wasn't exactly a world beater in the short-lived AAF, and hasn't exactly shined in preseason either. So who's to say that the Titans don't spend their 2nd or 3rd round pick on somebody like Jake Fromm, James Morgan, or even Jalen Hurts? I should also mention that even if the Titans did have a high enough pick to get Burrow, Tua, or Herbert, the Titans' recent draft history at the quarterback position isn't exactly favorable, with Vince Young, Jake Locker, and most recently Marcus Mariota, all failing to meet overall expectations. That's not even mentioning the mid to late round selections that have also blew chances to shine, such as Rusty Smith, Zach Mettenberger, and most recently Luke Falk. Now, the one thing that he said in his video that really got on my nerves was the question that he asked at the 528 mark. He asked, quote, how important was Ryan Tannehill really in the grand scheme of things, end quote. He then went on to credit Derrick Henry's huge performances against the Patriots and Ravens, as well as giving credit to the offensive line and the defense. While he did acknowledge Tannehill's great throws in both games, he also stated that Tannehill wasn't called upon to do much. And then in the AFC Championship game, when Tannehill needed to step up, he didn't get the job done. Now, Schlegdaddy is not the first person I've heard speak this train of thought, and as a Titans fan who's been watching this team over the past 2 decades, it annoys me that people watch 3 playoff games and then act as if they have this team all figured out. I'm not necessarily talking about Schlegdaddy, mind you, that's more just a general statement. I'll start out by putting it as simply as I possibly can. Had it not been for Ryan Tannehill, the Titans would not have even sniffed the playoffs, let alone made it to the AFC Championship game. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the team was 2-4 when Tannehill replaced Mariota as the team's starting quarterback. Schlegdaddy mentioned Derrick Henry's playoff performances, but in the first 6 games of the regular season, Henry only had 1 game in which he rushed for 100 yards or more. In that game against the Atlanta Falcons, it took him 27 carries to get to exactly 100 rushing yards. Now don't get me wrong, Henry was still running at a high level for the most part, but with teams not even respecting the Titans' passing game, or for the most part, lack thereof, Henry wasn't pulling off the big numbers that he eventually ended up pulling en route to his first career rushing title. Just as a little aside, in the Ravens game, Henry did have a hell of a game, but it was Tannehill who accounted for 3 of the 4 touchdowns that Tennessee scored. And as far as the AFC Championship game is concerned, Tannehill actually played relatively well given the circumstances, but the offensive line that Schlegdaddy praised in his video played horribly both in the run game and in pass protection, and the Titans defense, which he also praised, just could not stop Patrick Mahomes. Besides, outgunning Patrick Mahomes twice in one season isn't exactly an easy feat. While I will submit that Tannehill didn't get the job done, obviously, I'd argue that he probably is the least to blame for the loss, as in critical situations in which he could have made plays, either the offensive line got called for a dumb penalty, or they allowed him to get either pressured or sacked. I give credit to the Chiefs' defense as they played an outstanding game of football, especially in the second half, but the offensive line had a really bad game. Just for the record, I'm not trying to downplay Henry's amazing playoff stretch or his great season, nor am I trying to downplay how well the defense played in those first 2 playoff games. All I'm saying is that if anyone's trying to insinuate that Tannehill wasn't a huge factor in the Titans turning their season around, you clearly didn't pay enough attention to this season. All in all, the Titans went from one of the most anemic offenses in the NFL to one of the most proficient, and that probably would not have happened had it not been for Tannehill. So this idea that Tannehill wasn't important in the grand scheme of things understandably annoys me, because if Tannehill did not perform the way he did, we wouldn't be having these conversations about whether or not the Titans should have re-signed or tagged Henry. He would have likely been gone. Overall, I'm a huge fan of the Schlegdaddy, and though I overall disagree with many of his takes on this topic in particular, I definitely respect what he had to say. He obviously did some research, and he backed up his opinions with facts. And given Tannehill's struggles while he was with the Dolphins, I think questioning whether or not Tannehill will produce well enough in 2020 and beyond to merit his contract is a fair question. For what it's worth, the Titans do have a potential out in the contract, as they could save around $22 million if they cut him in 2023. So they could get out of the final year of his contract if he doesn't perform well over the next 3 years. We'll just have to see what happens. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video, and if you haven't already subscribed to him, make sure you subscribe to both of Schlegdaddy's YouTube pages, SchlegdaddyTV and OTRSCentral. Both pages as well as his Twitter pages are in the description of this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you hit that sub button if you're new as well. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell to join the notification gang. That's going to do it for me. You guys have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day, night, or whenever you're watching this. Like I always say, no matter what happens, make sure you keep that mofo rolling. I love y'all 3000. I'm outie 5000. Deuces.